We're going back to Instant Pot today because I want to share with you the things that I make the very most. So these are my top 20 Instant Pot recipes that you can make all the time. Now the first 7 recipes are what I like to call the basics. Then the next 13 recipes are simple, easy dinner ideas. So if you guys are ready, let's just jump into it. The first recipe is ground beef. I love cooking ground beef in the Instant Pot.
All right, so I'm gonna start with the 3 pounds of ground beef. Yes, that's a lot of ground beef, but I'll show you what I do with it later. So I'm gonna put my little trivet in the bottom of my, so it's on sealing, not venting. Okay, so I love my manual button or just a normal pressurized pressure cook, whatever your Instant Pot says, and we're going to 25 minutes. Now when your Instant Pot's done, it will start counting up or it's releasing on its own. I let it release on its own for about 10 to 15 minutes. Turn the knob over, there's no steam to come out, so I can take my lid off. Now, I wish you could smell my kitchen because it smells so good right now. Now, it looks like it's still like a brick of meat, but don't worry. We're gonna turn it into ground beef and it will really look ground up. Okay, so I'm gonna take my 2 big chunks, and if you have multiple little chunks, put them all into a bowl. And the first thing I did is cut it up just a little bit. Now this is cooked together like a meatloaf really is cooked together. So you have to split up the meat. And doing this, it was the easiest to use a knife. Then once I cut it up into big chunks, I got my chop and stir. If you don't have one of these with your ground beef, I highly suggest getting one. They're like $6 on Amazon and it's my favorite. So I just chopped up all of my meat and that really is all there is to it. This is gonna be my new way of cooking ground beef and I am so excited. Now I just have to show you that all the grease literally dripped to the bottom of the pan, which makes it a whole lot healthier. Okay, now 3 pounds of meat is a lot, so I'm splitting it up into 3 different 1-pound bags. So I'm gonna freeze 2 of my bags that each have 1 pound of ground beef, and then I'm gonna put 1 in the refrigerator because I am making taco soup. I love having ground beef just sitting around all cooked, ready to go. Then if I need to do a quick meal of tacos, taco soup, something that is so simple that has ground beef in it, I can just grab it out of the freezer and go.
The second recipe is called Instant Pot corn. I will never go back to heating up a big pot again. Instant Pot is the way to go.
Now, if you've never made corn in an Instant Pot, now's the time to do it. You don't have to watch it, you don't have to wait for it. So I took 1 cup of water and I threw 4 ears of corn on. You could add probably 1 more in a 6-quart Instant Pot. Now, if you're using a 3-quart one, go ahead and split the corn in half. If you're using an 8-quart, you can add more corn if you want. All right, we're gonna close the lid and put it on sealing. And now for my favorite part, because it really doesn't take a lot of time, I'm gonna push manual and go all the way down to 5 minutes. Now, once it's done, I do a quick release so I can eat my corn faster. But if you do need to wait a little bit, it is fine just to sit in the Instant Pot until dinner is ready. So I take my lid off and my corn is perfectly done.
Number 3, I love cooking hard-boiled eggs in the Instant Pot. I feel like it is now the only way that I cook hard-boiled eggs.
So I just poured 1 cup of water right into the Instant Pot. Now I have this little thing, this trivet that came with my Instant Pot. You can also use a steamer rack or something else, but this one holds about 6 of them. So I'm gonna close up my lid, then make sure the knob is on sealing, not venting. I love my manual button, so I'm pushing manual and we're going to 5 minutes. Now when it's done, you wanna let it sit, let the timer go up for about 5 minutes before you turn it on venting and take the lid off. Now the trick with boiled eggs is that you want to put them in ice water as soon as that 5 minutes is up and let them sit for a few minutes until they're cool. Then peeling them is a breeze since it's been sitting in that ice water. Now if you can see, cut this open, it is the perfect boiled egg.
Number 4 is one of my most asked questions is how to cook chicken in the Instant Pot.
So we're gonna start off here by, I put 4 chicken breasts inside the bottom of my Instant Pot. Then I'm adding 1.5 cups of water. Now because this chicken is frozen, I'm gonna cook it just a little bit longer. So I'm gonna put my lid on, close it all the way, and then turn my little knob to sealing. Now I'm gonna push the manual button because I love the manual button and go up to 25 minutes. Now if you're gonna cook thawed chicken, I cook it between 15 and 20 minutes. Now when it's done, I move my knob over to venting, so it's a quick release, and then I take my lid off. I let it cool for a minute before I take my chicken out, and I love to shred my chicken because today I am making chicken enchiladas and I want shredded chicken.
Number 5 is sweet potatoes.
So I'm gonna do 3 sweet potatoes here. So I'm putting these on the rack this time, and I added 1 cup of water. Now I'm just gonna put the lid on, and as you know, sealing, not venting, so it will pressurize. Now I'm just gonna push manual and go up to 15 minutes to cook sweet potatoes. Now I did a quick release and pulled the lid right off, but for some reason my camera wasn't filming, so I apologize about that. Now these sweet potatoes are done. They're a little bit more firm than I like, so I'm actually gonna put my lid back on and cook them for another 5 minutes. But I like my sweet potatoes really, really soft. So if you like them a little bit more firm, but still cooked all the way through, cook them for 15. If you like them really soft, cook them for 20. You can serve these different ways. You could peel them and mash them up and have mashed sweet potatoes. Or last week I made a delicious sweet potato chicken recipe. I'll put a link in the description for you if you didn't see it.
Number 6 is Instant Pot rice.
Now you can make your rice different ways. You can use oil, you can use salt, but I just use 2 simple ingredients, which are rice and water. Now there are recipes that call for oil and salt. I'll also put those in the description below for you so you have all of your rice recipes right in the description. Okay, so on to the recipe. I have 1 cup of rice that I rinsed until the water ran clear. So this is my cup of rice, and I'm just gonna put it right in the bottom of my Instant Pot. All right, next I'm gonna add my water. So for 1 cup of rice, I like to add 1 1/4 cup of water, or chicken broth, or any type of liquid that I wanna cook my rice with. The most simple basic recipe is just water. So 1 cup of rice to 1 1/4 cup of water. Now I like my rice a little bit softer, so that's why I do 1 1/4 cup. Okay, we're gonna put my lid on and make sure your knob is on sealing, not venting. Now, if your Instant Pot has a rice cooker, you can push that, but if it doesn't, you can just do manual or high pressure. That's what manual is, it's just high pressure. So because I love my manual button, that's what I'm gonna push. All right, so with white rice, we are going down to 8 minutes. Now you can go as little as 4 minutes, depending on how you like the texture. I like it really soft, so 8 minutes it is. Then let the rice release on its own for 9 to 10 minutes. Then when you're done with the 9 to 10 minutes, you switch over the knob to venting, and it should let out all the rest of the steam. Then you can just pull your lid off, and it will be a little steamy, but your rice should be fully cooked. Now this is how I make the sticky rice. I love sticky rice for recipes because it's just a lot easier to eat. But if you add a little bit of oil, it will make it a little bit harder so it won't stick together. And I'll put that recipe in the description below for you. But for me, I love my sticky white rice.
Number 7 is Instant Pot ham. I love cooking ham in the Instant Pot, and then I'll just put it in little separate baggies and freeze it for lots of different meals.
So this is a spiral ham. It's already been pre-cooked, so you really don't have to do much to it other than add a lot of flavor and heat it up. So that's what your Instant Pot is for. So we're gonna make a yummy sauce to go on top of it, and then we'll cook it. So let's get started. So I have a 1/2 cup of brown sugar that we're just gonna dump in here. Then we have a 1/2 cup of honey. I'm kind of just gonna eyeball it. Because really you can never have too much honey. Am I right? I am right. Then we have 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. We'll just pour on top. Again, I'm just gonna kind of eyeball my 2 tablespoons. And then you can't forget your spices. So you have a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg and a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. So I'm just gonna put those in here too. Then I'm just gonna take my basting brush and just kind of mix it all together. All right, once it's nice and all mixed together, now it's time to put everything into the Instant Pot. So I'm gonna scooch that forward and scooch this over for you. So the first thing you wanna do is you wanna put a trivet onto the bottom of the Instant Pot. Now you don't want a high trivet, you want one that's pretty low. So trivet on the bottom. If you don't have a trivet, I've done it before without a trivet, it works just fine. Next, we're gonna add a 1.5 cups of water. So we'll just pour that into the bottom of the pot because it has to pressurize, right? Then I'm gonna show you a little bit how I'm gonna do it to the ham, but then I'm gonna transfer it over so it's not a big brown sugar mess right here. So we're gonna take some of our sauce, and I like to put it in between each piece and just kind of spread it around a little bit. If you need it more liquidy, you can do that too and just add a little bit more water, but I like it nice and thick because it will get more liquidy as it goes on. So just depending on how you like it. Some people just like to take this and just pour it all over so the edges are nice and flavored. I love my inside flavored. So transfer it over. It's gonna be kind of a tight fit. If it doesn't fit all the way for you, you can always trim some edges off and let it fit, but it fits just fine for me. So we're going to just continue basting this little guy, basting the outside, basting the inside, just to give it some yummy flavor. I love that Dijon mustard flavor too, and I can smell it. Once everything's in, you're ready to go. So it's okay if your ham goes over a little bit on the line. You have a little bit of room on your lid, so it's okay if it goes over just a little bit. As long as your whole entire thing is not over, and as long as your lid can go on, you're fine. Okay, so we're gonna put the lid on. There we go. Now, usually I'll have you turn the knob to sealing, not venting. But this one is a different one, so I don't have to push, I don't have to turn any knobs, it will automatically do it for me. We're gonna push the pressure cook button. Now, all you have to really do is get it warm. So we're gonna go all the way down to 4 minutes. You heard that right, just 4 minutes is how long you cook your ham. The good thing is you can cook it and then you can just leave it in your Instant Pot until you're all done. All right, so we are good. This is a little bit of a different pot, so I need to push start, but most of the time you can just set the timer and walk away. Okay, so we are all done here. We're just going to wait for it to cook and then, yep, I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so once the timer is done, you had your 4 minutes of cooking, you can go ahead and release the pressure. Once all the pressure's out, carefully open your lid. There we go. And you guys, your ham is done. It is all done. And it smells so good. Now I love this because you can make a delicious gravy with the drippings that are in there, and you also get just really good ham. So instead of pulling it all out, because it's still burning hot, I'm just gonna cut you a few pieces just so you can see how good it is. Ooh, there we go. Oh my gosh. Okay, we colored up the edges too with the sauce that we put on. It is delicious, absolutely delicious.
Number 8 is my Instant Pot mac and cheese. Super simple, and I swear you'll never make mac and cheese a different way.
So you wanna make sure your lid is off your Instant Pot, because obviously you need to use the pot. And we're making macaroni and cheese, a creamy macaroni and cheese. So we're gonna start with 1 pound of elbow macaroni. Then we're gonna do 4 cups of chicken broth. Now I love to get these containers because I know that there are 4 cups in here and I don't have to measure anything. So we're gonna pour it all in. Okay, now the secret when making pasta is that you wanna make sure, yes, I am using my finger. You wanna make sure that all the noodles are covered in liquid. If you don't have enough liquid, then you need to add more liquid to it. You just wanna make sure all the noodles are covered or you're gonna have some hard noodles with your pasta. All right, this is all that we have to do. We're gonna put the lid on now. Okay, we're putting the lid on. Can you hear that? That means you're doing it right. Then you're gonna turn this little knob to sealing. Now, the other Instant Pots have a different looking knob. They both have sealing and venting, so make sure that it's on sealing. Okay, once it's on sealing, then we're gonna come over here and we're gonna push the manual button or the pressure cook button, and we're gonna go down to just 4 minutes. Pasta only takes 4 minutes to cook. So once you push the buttons, then you're gonna wait for it to say on. Once it says on, you're good to go. Now, the difference between making, like, let's say macaroni and cheese in the Instant Pot compared to on your stovetop is that you literally can set your timer to 4 minutes and walk away. Now you think of all the steps you have to do when you do it on the stovetop. You have to heat your water, you have to make sure it doesn't boil over, then you have to put your noodles in, you have to wait about 7 minutes for your noodles to cook, and you are just at the stovetop the whole entire time. With the Instant Pot, I can go clean up the kitchen, I can go put away the laundry, I can do a lot of other things while it's cooking. So this is why I love the Instant Pot so much. All right, we're gonna let this cook, and then I'll come back and I'll finish making the rest of macaroni and cheese. So once it's all done cooking, you're gonna have it say L. L means that it is done. You'll usually hear a little sound that it is done, it beeps at you, and then it's gonna start counting up. So you'll know how many minutes it's been done. So usually with pasta and other things, I like to do something called a quick release. A quick release is when you turn it to venting right when it's done cooking. Now, if you see some instructions that say natural release, that means you're just gonna leave it just as it is and let it release the pressure on its own, natural release. But with pasta, and because I wanna make this really quick, we're gonna turn it to quick release, which is turning it to venting, so all the steam will come out. Okay, so once that's all done, there's a little pin that will drop. That means that you can open your lid safely. Oh, and if you can see, the pasta is cooked perfectly. Now there is a little bit liquid at the bottom, and that is just fine because we're gonna use that liquid for the macaroni and cheese. So just kind of mix your noodles around a little bit. They might be a little bit stuck together, but that's not hard. Once you start mixing, they'll come apart. Okay. So now we're gonna push the saute button. The saute button is the other button that I use all the time. So you can brown your onions or you can brown your meat, stuff like that. But we're gonna use the saute button today to make everything warm. So first we're gonna push the cancel, and then we're gonna push the saute button. There you go. Okay, now it's time to add the good stuff with the mac and cheese. So we're first gonna add a half a cup of milk. And I'm just gonna eyeball this a little bit. And then about a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. You don't have to add the Dijon, it just gives it a little bit of a kick. And then just a dash of hot sauce. You can use your favorite hot sauce, whatever hot sauce you like. Or if you don't like hot sauce, you don't even have to add the hot sauce. I just like the extra flavor that it gives it. And then last we're gonna add just 2 tablespoons of butter. So I'm just gonna mix these things in there right now. So we're gonna let the butter melt and mix in the mustard and everything else. It's starting to smell good. All right, so once the butter is all melted, now we're just gonna add 2 cups of cheddar cheese. I like to use sharp cheddar cheese, but you can use any kind of cheddar cheese that you want. Now, if you shred your own cheddar cheese, that will make it mix a little bit easier, but I'm kind of lazy and I like to buy it pre-shredded, so I don't even have to worry about that stuff. I'm a more of dump everything in and go kind of person. All right, once your cheese is melted and everything is melted and mixed together, go ahead and push the cancel button. You don't want to keep sauteing or it will burn the bottom of your pan, it will burn the noodles. So we're turning it off, and so you'll just have nice hot mac and cheese ready to serve. Now, if you want to make this a little bit earlier in the day, you can always push the cancel button again. It is also the keep warm button, and you can just let it sit here for an hour or 2. I would put the lid back on and let it sit until you're ready to eat. All right. Oh man, these noodles smell so good. I can smell just the little bit of Dijon mustard in there. It's my favorite. Now, I was thinking that you could easily do, if you have the other box mac and cheese, you could easily make just the Kraft macaroni and cheese too, because it's literally the same thing. You're just cooking your noodles and adding everything else when you're done.
Number 9 is one of the most popular recipes on our website. It's Instant Pot creamy enchilada soup.
You're gonna start by putting 2 or 3 chicken breasts in the bottom of your Instant Pot. Now these are chicken tenders. You can use tenders or you can use chicken breasts. Now, if you are making this in the slow cooker, you're gonna do the same exact thing that I do in my Instant Pot, except when it's cooking, you're gonna cook for 6 to 8 hours on low. Next, you're gonna add 2 cloves of garlic. I also like to use the minced garlic, so it's about 1 teaspoon. Next, you're gonna add 1 teaspoon of chili powder. Oop, got a little too much there. Next, you're gonna add 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire, 1 teaspoon of that sauce. Then add 1 teaspoon of Tabasco sauce in it. Now that seems like a lot, but it actually isn't too spicy. If your kids are funny about spice, maybe do a ½ teaspoon. Then on top of that, I'm gonna add 1 small chopped onion. Next, add 1 chopped red pepper. Now they didn't have red peppers at my store, so I used an orange one. Then 1 can of drained black beans. Then you're gonna add 1 can of corn. You're not gonna drain the corn, dump everything in. Next, add 2 cups of your favorite enchilada sauce. Then you're gonna add 4 cups of chicken broth. Now, I love to get these big containers because I know it's already 4 cups and I can just dump the whole thing in without measuring. Next, you're gonna add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper, and then you're ready to cook. If you're doing the Instant Pot, make sure you turn the handle and make sure that the little thing is on sealing, not venting. If you're cooking with a slow cooker, put the lid on and set it for 6 to 8 hours. With the Instant Pot, you're gonna go manual for 20 minutes. Now when it's done cooking, I did a quick release, so that means I pushed it over to venting and let all the steam out. And I'm gonna take the lid off. Oh, it smells so good. Now I'm just gonna find my chicken and shred it. Now with the Instant Pot, it is going to be really hard to hold on to, and it will shred very, very easily. Now when you're done shredding your chicken, you're gonna add 1/2 cup of cream, and then about 1/2 cup of sour cream. I might add a little more because I love when it's nice and creamy. Then when you're done with that, stir it in a little bit so the sour cream can melt and the cream will mix in pretty good. Next, you're gonna add 2 cups of cheddar cheese. Mix it really well until everything is melted and well combined. Now, if you're doing this in the slow cooker, you're gonna do the same exact thing. You're just gonna make sure it's still on low while your sour cream and cheese are melting. When it's all done, I like to serve it with cheese, so the cheese is melting, some little tortilla strips, and cilantro on top.
Number 10 is our Instant Pot beef stroganoff. I love beef stroganoff.
So I put a little olive oil in the bottom of my Instant Pot, pushed saute, and then I have stew meat that I threw in. Now I'm putting garlic salt, and pepper in there. And now I'm just gonna mix it around so it will sear the meat just a little bit. So I'm gonna let it sear for just about 2 to 3 minutes, and then I'll add some other things. So on top of the meat, you're just gonna add some onions. I did half of an onion, but you can do a whole onion. Then add ½ a teaspoon of garlic or 1 garlic clove, And then I added a whole container of mushrooms. If you don't like mushrooms, you don't have to add them in, but I love them, so I added a lot. Then you're just gonna mix it all up for a little while your Instant Pot is still on saute. You'll notice that the Instant Pot recipe is a little bit different than the slow cooker recipe, and we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of flour right now, and then mix it all together. All right, then we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire, however you call it, it's that sauce. 1 tablespoon of it right on top. And then you're gonna pour 3 cups of beef broth right on top. And you'll have 1 cup left if you have a container like that. Keep that because we're gonna put that in later on. All right, our food is ready to cook. We're gonna go ahead and put the lid on now. Make sure that it seals tightly and that it's on sealing, not venting. Now, mine is on saute right now, so I'm gonna turn it off. Then I'm gonna push the manual button and go up to 12 minutes. Now, if you're curious about cooking times, I have a little cheat sheet right here, or in the description, I'll send a link so you can go find it there also. Now, usually with me, I like to let it release on its own, but right now we're doing a quick release because I wanna get the noodles in and cooked. Now, as soon as all the pressure's released, go ahead and take off the lid. Oh my goodness, it smells so good. So now I'm gonna add about 16 ounces of egg noodles. Now, when I'm done dumping it in, I'm gonna stir it around a little bit. If there is lots of moisture in there, go ahead and don't add any beef broth, but I felt like I needed just a little bit more, and so I added about 1/2 cup more of beef broth. So now you're gonna close the lid again, make sure that it's on sealing again, and then we're gonna cook it. So you're gonna have to turn your Instant Pot off again, then push manual and go down to 4 minutes. That's how long noodles take to cook. Now when it's all done, I did a quick release because my kids were ready to eat and I was starving too. So go ahead and take the lid off. Then you're gonna take 1 cup of sour cream and just pour it right in. You wanna do this right after the lid is off because it was still gonna be really hot. Now go ahead and mix in your sour cream. Now if you noticed, mine has a little bit more liquid than I would like. You can go ahead and keep the saute button on and it will thicken up because of the flour that you put in there.
Number 11 is Dr. Pepper pulled pork.
Now you can have a 1 to 3 pound pork here. I'm gonna add, of course, my garlic salt and then 1 can of Diet Dr. Pepper. Now I know this isn't the most healthy, but it's a little healthier than just plain Dr. Pepper. Okay, then we're gonna add Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce, about 1 cup right on top of your pork. Now you are welcome to add other seasonings too, but I love this recipe because you can make it with 3 ingredients and it's so easy to throw together. All right, putting the lid on, we're going to sealing again because we want it to pressurize. Now we're gonna push manual and go up because 3 pounds, I usually go 50 to 60 minutes. This is a 2 pound pork, so we're going to 50 minutes. Now I let it release on its own for about 8 to 10 minutes. Then I just switch it over so I can get rid of all the rest of the pressure so I can open the lid. Now, if you open the lid and your pork isn't cooked all the way, the good thing about the Instant Pot is you can put the lid on and cook it some more. Now, I want my pork to shred easily for this shredded pork recipe. Now, once it's done shredding, I'm gonna stick it back into my sauce and let it sit there for about 20 to 30 minutes. I mean, if you need it sooner, that's fine, but I like to have it soak up the flavor. Now, you can serve this on buns. I put a little extra barbecue sauce on top, or you can serve it over your favorite salad.
Number 12 is actually my most favorite recipe, spicy chicken and rice bowls. Then if you have leftovers, you can make them into enchiladas, which I love enchiladas.
You're gonna first start with 2 cups of rice that you have rinsed and drained so the water runs clear, and you'll dump it right into the bottom of your Instant Pot. Add 2.5 cups of water right on top of the rice. Now it's time for the seasoning. Now I just added pepper to taste because I love pepper. Then you're gonna add 1 teaspoon of salt. Next add 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. And then that should be it for the seasoning. So I have 1 can of black beans that I've rinsed and drained, and then add 1 can of red enchilada sauce. I used a 10-ounce can there. Okay, so now I have 2 cups of shredded chicken. I like to have mine already cooked and chopped up, so it will make this recipe cook even faster. I just got rotisserie chicken and chopped it all up. Now you're just gonna put the lid on, make sure that it's on sealing, not venting, sealing, and you are ready to cook it. So I like to use my manual button. That's about the only button I use. So I'm pushing manual, and because we just have to cook the rice, we're gonna go down to 10 minutes. All right, when it's all done, I flipped the knob over and did a quick release, and then just carefully pull the lid off. where it's still going to be hot and steamy, but everything should be cooked all the way through. Now, like I said before, I love this recipe because it will work with enchiladas, with tacos, on top of your salad. You can do all kinds of things with this recipe. But I have to say my favorite is the rice bowl. So I like to add cheese on while it's still hot so it can melt, then add a little bit of sour cream, a little bit of guacamole, and then if you love cilantro, I love to add cilantro to the top.
Number 13 is Instant Pot Lasagna. It's a pot-in-pot recipe.
All right, we're just going to start with our springform pan. Like I said before, this is the 3-inch by the 6-inch. So you can get it a little bit bigger, the 7-inch, but I'm using the 6-inch today. All right, we're going to start with 1 egg. Then I'm going to add 1 cup of ricotta cheese. Then when you're done adding the ricotta, you're going to add your spices. So I have a half teaspoon of each one of these. We have salt, pepper, oregano, garlic powder, and Italian seasoning. Then you're just going to dump those all in. Next, we're going to add 1 cup of mozzarella cheese. Then you're going to mix everything until it's well combined. All right, when it's all mixed together, you're going to set that aside and pull out your springform pan. Now I am using oven-ready lasagna noodles, so I don't have to boil them. It makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to kind of measure and then break them so they'll fit right into my pan. Now, the noodles do not have to be pretty. What you're trying to do is just cover up the bottom of the springform pan the best you can. So if you notice, I am using little pieces, and it's okay because it will cook together. All right, so I'm just adding a few more noodles on, and now I am ready to put half of my cheesy ricotta mixture in there. Then you're just going to spread it around the best you can. Now I'm just going to take a handful of spinach leaves and just kind of tear them up and put them right on top of the cheese. Again, it's lasagna, so it doesn't have to be pretty. Next, I have a 24-ounce jar of just traditional spaghetti sauce. You can use whatever sauce you like in your lasagna. Then just spread the sauce around right over the spinach. Now you're just going to repeat your layers. So you're going to add your noodles again. And like I said before, they don't have to be perfect because they will all cook together. Next, you're going to add the rest of the cheese mixture right on top of the noodles. Then just spread it all around. Now we're ready for the spinach again. So I just grabbed another little handful and I'm just ripping it up into pieces so it will lay as flat as I can get it. And again, you're going to add a half of a cup of your spaghetti sauce or whatever sauce you love on top of your spinach leaves. And just spread it around again. Now this is the last layer of noodles. So again, I'm going to try and measure them so they'll fit perfectly into my little pan. Again, you're going to add another half cup or so of your sauce, spread it around, and now for my most favorite part, the cheese. So I added about a half a cup to a cup. I like a lot of cheese, so I added about a cup. Now once you're done with that, you're going to take a piece of foil and put it right on top of your springform pan. Now, my Instant Pot came with a steam rack, and so that's what I'm going to use today to cook my lasagna. I know there are a lot of other things you can use for your Instant Pot, but this came with mine, so we're just going to make it easy. All right, so now I'm just adding 1 cup of water because you need water for it to pressurize. Then I'm going to put my pan right on top. Then you're going to put your lid on, close it, and make sure that your thing is turned to sealing, not venting. You want it on sealing. Then on your Instant Pot, you're going to push manual and go up to 24 minutes. Then when it's done, you're going to let it release on its own, so you're not going to put it on venting for 15 minutes. So now I'm preheating my oven to 450 degrees. Take the foil off of your lasagna, put it in, and watch it for about 2 to 3 minutes until it's nice and golden brown on top.
Number 14 is chicken Alfredo.
All right, so to get started, you're going to push the saute button. And we're gonna let that heat up to hot.
Yes, okay, so you'll just wanna add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil to the bottom of your Instant Pot.
Now, can I show you my trick?
Yes.
I like to pick it up and kind of just like mix it, make sure it covers.
Full coverage.
Exactly.
No sticking, no burning here today.
No, not today. All right, then we're gonna add, this is about 3 pounds of chicken. Now you can see that we've kind of cut it into strips. It will make it cook so much faster if it's cut smaller. And I like the strips with Alfredo, right? That's what you think of when you think of Alfredo. So.
And I like doing it beforehand because then after it's like you're trying to shred hot chicken and it's like
right.
Once this is just cooked, it's just nice.
It's just nice and easy.
And done.
Exactly.
You can hear sizzle.
Sizzle, sizzle.
So how long do you saute the chicken for?
So you're gonna do like 3 minutes on each side.
Okay.
I'm trying to spread them out as best I can.
You're doing great.
Thanks. Almost done here. Here we go. Last two. There we go. Okay. So we'll give them just a second, let them sit there, and then we'll just flip them over in about 2 to 3 minutes.
So then just to season them up a little, we're just gonna do a little salt and pepper, just for taste, no direct measurement.
Nah. And you know us, we usually just kind of eyeball things.
You just wing it.
That's how it works here. Okay, they've been browned on both sides for about 3 minutes. We're just gonna kind of stir them up a little bit. There we go. Okay, now we're gonna cook the pasta. So let's add some of our stuff here.
Okay, so we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of minced garlic.
Nice.
Okay, then we'll add 1 teaspoon of parsley into this.
Nice. Mix that around. Now I'm gonna hurry and turn off the saute button if that's okay. Cancel. Oh, it smells good just with the garlic in there.
Good.
Okay, then let's add our pasta on top, and then we'll add on the broth. So we're gonna add just like 1 pound of the pasta.
Yeah.
And then the secret of the pasta is we're just going to make sure that all the pasta is covered with liquid. So right now, this is 4 cups of chicken broth that we're gonna put in here. Looks like we just need to add, you wanna measure that a little bit. You might need to add just a little bit more. When your pasta's not touching the liquid, it's gonna get hard and crispy. We don't want that. We want soft pasta.
Noodles in our pasta.
Okay, how's that looking? Can we pat the rest down? Perfect. I think we're ready now.
Okay.
Ready?
Ready.
Let's do it. You're gonna put on your lid. Now, if you have a little knob, make sure that it's turned to sealing, not venting. This one doesn't have a knob, so it automatically just sets onto sealing, so you're good. So you're gonna push the pressure cook button or the manual button, and then we're gonna go down to 4 minutes because our chicken's pretty much cooked. We just gotta cook the noodles and we're ready to go. So once it's set, you can go ahead and walk away. All right, so once the timer is all done, you can go ahead and either turn your little knob to venting, or with this Instant Pot, all you have to do is press the button now. So ready? Here we go. Okay, once the pressure is out, you can go ahead and safely take off the lid.
Smells good.
It does smell good. So we're gonna mix it around. It looks like there's like a little bit excess water, but not too much. I feel like we're okay to just leave it as it is. So, okay, now we're gonna add the good stuff. We're gonna make the sauce.
Yes, to this we're going to add cream cheese, and it's okay if it's still a little cold because it will all melt together with the hot pasta and the chicken.
Right,
So
and so that's the 8-ounce block
Yes.
of cream cheese. Okay, while you're gonna do that, I'm gonna put in like a 1/4 cup of Parmesan. Nice. Do I mix it around and you put in the next? Awesome.
And then this is just 1 cup of mozzarella.
Nice. Love all this cheese.
Yeah.
I mean, Alfredo, I guess it does all cheese. All good stuff. Now, if you want it to cook a little bit faster, you can push the saute button and we'll heat things up a little bit more. Okay, this will take just a few minutes to melt all our cheeses and cream cheese and everything. So you just keep at it, keep at it. So while we're waiting for it to, melt, thicken up a little bit, to help thicken it up, we're gonna take 2 tablespoons of water and then just 1 tablespoon, it's a half, so we need 2 of them. So 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, and we're just going to mix it up a little bit and then put it in there while it's on saute to hopefully it will thicken it right up for us. Because you don't want liquidy chicken Alfredo. You want thick, creamy chicken Alfredo. There we go. All right, so we're just gonna stir this for a little bit until it's nice and thick.
Okay, so everything is stirred together. It's creamy, it's thickening up.
I'm just gonna, turn this off. Turn off our saute off. There we go.
And then we're just gonna serve this up. And we like to serve this with just a little bit of basil on top. It just adds a really nice fresh flavor to it all.
You could also put a little bit more Parmesan on top too. That's one of my favorites.
Never opposed to more cheese. Never opposed to that.
Especially with dealing with Alfredo.
And there it is, your finished product.
Number 15 is another one of our most popular recipes. It's Instant Pot fall off the bone ribs.
Now, don't be intimidated by these. They really are so easy. So first I'm gonna add a lot of salt on top of my ribs and then a little bit of pepper. Next, you're gonna grab some apple juice and pour about 1 cup to 1.5 cups into your pot. Now, this is your liquid, so you'll be able to get the pressure. Now, my Instant Pot is a 6-quart, and the ribs I'm using are beef ribs, so they're actually a lot bigger. But if you're using pork ribs, you can put them in your Instant Pot just like this, in any size of Instant Pot. But because my ribs are so big, they don't fit that way, so I'm going to show you how I put them in. So first, you're just going to cut them right down the middle. Try not to cut the bone, and try and make the meat as even on both sides, if you can. As soon as you're done cutting them, you're going to put them inside the Instant Pot, one on top of the other. Then put on your lid, make sure you seal it tight, and always make sure it's on sealing so it'll work. Then you're going to press your meat stew button and go all the way down to 25. Now I let this recipe do a slow release, meaning I let it release on its own. So now I'm just going to check, yep, there's no pressure, so I'm going to open it up. And the smell of these things are amazing. So I'm going to take some tongs, pull them out, and put them on a lined cookie sheet. I lined it with foil, so my cleanup is going to be a breeze. Before your Instant Pot is done cooking, go ahead and preheat your oven to broil. So it'll be about 550 degrees or broil. Now before we broil these, we're gonna spread some barbecue sauce on them so they'll be caramelized, I guess, in barbecue sauce. So I just did a few squirts of barbecue sauce. You can use any kind of barbecue sauce you like, and then I just spread it around so it will be pretty even on each rib. Then when you're done, stick them in the broiler for about 2 to 4 minutes. You need to watch it so it doesn't burn your ribs. Now, instead of just dumping this applesauce, I'm going to put some potatoes in it because I'm going to have mashed potatoes with my ribs. This is totally optional, but I'm all about easy side dishes. When you have your potatoes in, you're just going to turn it, make sure it's sealed, then you'll push manual. You're going to go up to 15 minutes. While those are cooking, my ribs are done and they look amazing. Now, because I only put a few potatoes on, you can do a quick release and it won't splatter everywhere. So there you go. So I just took them out, I mashed them up with my potato masher, and there you go. You have ribs and a perfect side of mashed potatoes.
Number 16 was actually a meal someone brought to me, and they were so kind to let me share that with you, and that is our Instant Pot Tuscan Chicken.
All right, so we're gonna start out with 2 cups of pasta. So the one that we are using, and I don't know if I'm gonna say it right, Ditalini? The little ones. Anyways, they're the cutest little tubular pastas. My kids love them because they're a fun shape, right? So you need 2 cups, which is about half of a 16-ounce container. Just go ahead, pour that into the bottom. Nice. Okay, then we're gonna do also 2 cups of chicken broth. And again, this is 4 cups, so we're gonna just kind of eyeball it and put in our 2 cups of chicken broth, or at least until the noodles are all covered. Yep, there we go. Okay, then we're gonna add in 2 tablespoons of butter. And you can just if it wants to come. There we go. There we go. You can literally just plop it in because guess what? It's gonna pressurize and melt and it's gonna be perfect. Perfect. Just 2 cups of chicken. Yep, cooked chicken. Cooked and diced. Okay, then it's time to cook it. All right. You're gonna put your lid on. You hear the little jingle, that means it's on correctly. Then this is called the Nova, so you don't have to turn any knobs to sealing or venting because it doesn't have that. But if you do have a different one, like a Duo or a Lux, make sure that your little knob is turned to sealing. All right, so we're gonna push the pressure cook button and we're gonna go all the way down to about 4 minutes. Then once you set the timer, you can literally just walk away. All right, it is finished cooking. We are going to do a quick release because our pasta doesn't need to stay cooking continually. So I'm gonna either push this, or if you have the knob, move it to venting. Woo! We're gonna see how this works. All right, once all the pressure's out, you can safely open it. Nice. I love how big these noodles get. Right? Yes. So right now you're just gonna mix in your chicken and your pasta and just kind of mix everything together. Sure it's all done. Now the nice thing about this, if you fill up the liquid to where the pasta hits, you don't have to drain anything. You can actually just kind of mix, and then we're ready to add the rest of the stuff. That's awesome. You ready? Yep. Okay, what you got? Okay, so I'm gonna start with the tomatoes. These are sun-dried tomatoes. Sun-dried, yes. They have been drained. They come in a little jar. So you drain them, chop them up, kind of into as big of pieces as you want. So we did like 4 ounces of those. You can do up to 8 ounces if you if your family loves them.
Yes, yes. Okay, next I'm just gonna add an 8-ounce block of cream cheese. We'll get that starting to melt in there.
Let it sit in the heat.
Yes.
You can even, if you want to, cut it up.
Break it up. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Melt even faster. Okay.
Okay, then we're gonna add about a half cup of grated Parmesan cheese. Just dump that in.
That right in.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got, how much parsley?
1 tablespoon.
Cool.
Okay, so we have half a teaspoon of pepper and half a teaspoon of garlic salt?
Yep.
Awesome. All right, and you just dump that in. There you go. Nice. All right.
I'll mix this a little bit.
Okay, and then we've got how much milk?
About half a cup.
Okay,
Milk.
pour that right on top.
All right, so this is gonna take a little while for the cream cheese to like melt and mix in. So we're actually gonna help it along a little bit. So you can push cancel and then you're gonna push the saute button. So we'll just help it. Yeah, cook
Heat it up really
fast. And any extra liquid like that milk in there, we'll make sure that it's all nice and thickened up a little bit. There we go.
So good.
It does.
The other thing I'm going to throw in while you're mixing that up and it's heating up is just 2 cups of baby spinach. And I actually kind of just rip it with my hands so it's even smaller.
Good idea.
It's going to shrink a ton.
Yeah, you probably won't, your kids probably won't even be able to see it.
Yep. But because I do have picky kids, I am going to rip it up even smaller.
Nice.
And a picky husband. This is my life. Hide the vegetables in there.
Seriously. Seriously.
Okay, so you want about 2 cups or 2 big handfuls of that.
Nice.
And it will shrink down as the cream cheese melts and everything heats up.
Yeah. All right, so it's all mixed together. It smells amazing. We're gonna push cancel here so it will stop cooking because we don't want it to burn onto the bottom.
Yes.
But here is when you can either like serve it right now or you can let it cool down a little bit and then put it in a freezer meal bag or whatever you want.
That was a huge
Did we
mess.
miss?
Yes, not the best serving spoon, but you get the gist.
You get the gist.
It's amazing.
And it tastes so good.
Nice and creamy, totally cheesy.
Your kids
Can't
and
see even the
husbands
spinach
are
in
gonna
it.
love
Yep,
it.
everybody loves this one.
Number 17 brings back lots of memories growing up. It's my mom's chili.
Now, if you want to cook your hamburger in your Instant Pot, you can. All you have to do is push the saute button, put your meat in there. I would also put your onions in there and you'll cook them together. But it's Halloween, things are crazy, so I cooked my meat in advance. I'll put a link in the description for you on how to cook it inside your Instant Pot. Now, onto the chili. I have 1 pound of cooked ground beef. I have 3 stalks of celery that I chopped up, and then 1 whole onion. You don't have to use a whole onion. I just like onions, so I like to do the whole thing. On top of that, you're gonna add 1 can of kidney beans. I use dark kidney beans and I drained them, rinsed them and drained them. Then you have 8 ounces of tomato sauce and 2 cans of diced tomatoes just thrown right on top. Now with one of those cans of diced tomatoes, I just filled up about half a cup of water and dumped it in the pot. Now the next thing is 1/4 cup of ketchup. You can measure if you want. I just always eyeball my ketchup. This next step is optional, but my mom always does it, so you add 1 tablespoon of sugar. Then 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire, lots of comments about that one. You can say it how you want. I call it Worcestershire sauce. So you can mix it around a little bit if you want to, but it's all pressurizing together, so I just put the lid on. Make sure your little knob is on sealing, not venting. Then I'm using, of course, the manual button, so if you have a different Instant Pot, you use pressure cook, just anything to make it pressurized, just normal. And you're gonna cook it for 10 minutes. Now you can turn the knob and let the pressure release, or you can let it release on its own. Now the chili is all the way done. You're gonna just mix it up a little bit. Now I'm curious what you guys like to serve on your chili. We always serve ours with Frito chips, with cheese.
Number 18 this is my sister, Camille, her favorite recipe. It's cheesy chicken and rice bowls. It's so good.
Should we jump into this one?
Let's do
This
this.
is one of our favorites on our
Oh
website,
my
and we
gosh.
put it on the website not long ago, and it exploded.
Everyone
so
loved it.
We're showing you just some simple ways to even make it easier than the recipe that's on the website.
Exactly.
So here's our shortcuts.
Let's do it.
What are we starting with?
All right, I'm gonna have you cut up the chicken.
Okay.
So we're gonna have like 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds
Yep,
of chicken.
chicken.
And I like to use the tenderloins because it just makes them cook a little bit faster.
And they're nice because they're small, so they're easy to cut up. And lots of times they've already been, the fat's they're trimmed.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of times they're already trimmed, makes it really easy to cut it up. I'm just cutting it into some kind of bite-sized pieces.
Oh, that's perfect, especially for kids. All right, so
Yep.
while she's cutting that, I'm gonna push the saute button right here. So when you push the saute button, right now it says, there's a little button that says less, normal, or more. We're just gonna keep it at normal because it's fine. All right, so saute, then it's going to beep for you. After you push the saute button, it's gonna start heating up. Once it gets hot, I kind of just test it a little bit. Once it's hot, then I add my oil and other things.
How long does it take to get hot?
Sometimes like 2 minutes, sometimes like
Okay.
5. Lots
Just
of times,
depends.
even before it's hot, I'll just start cooking.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm in a hurry. It is what it is.
Right? This is real life.
Exactly. All right, so once it's heated up, we're just gonna add, about a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of olive oil. We're just gonna drizzle that into the top of the pot. Now I like when my oil gets hot, and then I do a trick and I lift my pot up and just kind of wiggle my oil around so it covers all the bottom of my Instant Pot.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Kristen's
I'm
full
fancy.
of Instant Pot tricks. That's why we call her the Instant Pot Master.
There we go. Once the oil is heated up, ready to go, Camille is gonna add our chicken.
Yep.
You ready?
Kristen gets scared to touch raw chicken, so that's why I'm doing it.
I appreciate that.
If your oil's hot, it should sizzle at this point.
Yes.
Ours is still warming up, but that's okay.
You can hear it a little bit. Now, this makes a lot of rice and other things, so this is a lot of chicken. If you have a smaller family, you could even cut this recipe in half or even in fourths.
Totally.
I mean, you just make sure you cut all the ingredients down, but the timing will be the same. You cook over the same amount. All right, so once the chicken starts to cook on the bottom, you kind of just flip it around a little bit. I kind of stir as I go. Is that horrible?
No, that's what I do too, just to make sure that it all gets evenly cooked. I'm gonna throw the onion in there too.
Please do.
Just to add some more flavor. Let that cook in the oil.
Nice. I think that's one of my favorite smells is cooking chicken and onions together.
Well, let's make it even better and add some garlic.
All right, how much garlic are we gonna add?
I think just a teaspoon, or what, 2 cloves? So I'm just grabbing a spoon.
No, it's fine. Yeah, 2 cloves. That sounds good.
So we're just using jarred garlic. A half teaspoon of this equals a clove. This is one of my favorite shortcuts, so you don't have to chop fresh garlic.
I think all 6 of us use that shortcut
We
because
love it.
I don't like pressing my garlic.
Yep. Okay, so the seasonings we're gonna add, I'm just doing like a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of pepper. You can totally eyeball this. Don't feel like you need to measure it out. You can go Rachel Ray style, pour it in your hand and then dump it in.
We're not fancy like that.
Yep. If you want to add other seasonings that you like, you could. You could do some Italian seasoning. You could do a little bit more like garlic powder if you love the taste of garlic. I mean, however you like to season it,
You can add a little more.
totally works.
We love like a little bit more salt, so I usually add about a tablespoon of salt into this recipe.
You do?
I do. I love salty things.
I didn't know that about you.
Yep.
Learn something new every day.
Yep.
All right, so once the chicken kind of has some browning around the edges, I mean,
Right.
you can cook this as much or as little as you want. It just really is to seal in the flavor, kind of make the chicken have some added moisture, I would say.
Yeah, and I think a little bit of flavor too. It gives it some saute.
100%. So now, from this point, it's just kind of a dump and go.
Right?
So we're adding in 2 cups of rice. Now in the recipe, it says it a little bit differently, but
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
showing you this is the simple way to make it dump and
It's
go.
like the dump and go
Yep,
version. Yep.
Totally.
All right.
So I'm doing 2 cups of white rice. If you want to, you can rinse the rice before you dump it in. Totally up to you.
Yep.
But I'm just gonna go ahead.
We
throw
don't
that
judge you
in.
either way. If you rinse your rice or not,
Do your
there's
own
no
thing.
judging.
Okay, and then I'm gonna do about 2 cups of chicken broth.
Nice.
Just kind of pour that right in.
There we go. All right, so the secret when you're cooking
do a little
rice in the Instant Pot is you want to make sure that the rice, every single kernel of rice touches the liquid, because if it doesn't, you're going to have some hard pieces of rice there. So that's what we're going to do.
Didn't know that.
Now you know.
Okay, I've got half a cup of water going in too.
Okay.
Just some added moisture for that rice. Now I've got a can of cream of chicken soup. If you want to, if you're feeling super domestic, you can make your own. But for simplicity, I just use a can of this. You can get, they make a healthier option.
Reduced fat
Yeah, reduced
kind.
fat, which works great. It's not coming out.
There we go.
Okay, so add that in there. And then the last thing we are gonna throw in is a bag of frozen vegetables. And they are still frozen.
They are.
So,
Which I think works better because you're going to cook all the vegetables, rice, and chicken all at the same time.
Yep.
So I think frozen vegetables works better because then they'll cook.
yeah, they won't be super
They won't
mushy.
be soggy.
Yep. So
All
I'll
right,
dump those
dump
in.
it in. Yep.
Give it a good mix.
Just going to mix it around, make sure all the rice is covered by the liquid. And I think we're good to go.
Good to go.
So we have our lid now. We're all ready to go. Now remember, while we were putting this together, it's still on saute, which is okay. I guess I should put the lid on correctly, huh? Okay, so we're putting the lid on. We're gonna turn this little knob to sealing, not venting. Make sure I can see this here. Now, because it is on saute, first you have to push cancel. So you're gonna push the keep warm cancel button just to turn it all the way off. Then you're gonna push the manual button. Now, if you don't have a manual button, you'll have a pressure cook button. It's the same thing, manual, pressure cook, you're good. All right, so then we're gonna go up to 6 minutes. Now we can do 6 minutes because our chicken is little. It's already been sauteed. The rice only takes about 6 to 7-ish minutes to cook, and the vegetables only take about 2 minutes to cook, but they still taste good together.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of the same amount of time. That's why you can all cook it together.
Awesome.
All right, so you heard it little beep. Once it says on, you can just walk away. So it's all done cooking. We cooked it for about 6 minutes. You can go up to 7 if you want, but because it's done, we're gonna turn it over to a quick release. Here we go. Once all the pressure's out, then you can open the lid. Just beware of the steam because it gets toasty. All right, so if you can see this. Now it looks like there's a lot of liquid on top, but once you mix it around, there's some rice that still needs a little bit of liquid and it will all work out together.
It all evens out.
Exactly.
So while you're doing that, you want me to dump the cheese in?
Yes.
So you're gonna add, is it 1 cup?
Yeah, 1 cup of cheddar
1 cup
cheese.
of shredded cheddar cheese. You can shred your own if you want, or you can buy pre-shredded. Doesn't really matter.
We always tend to buy the shredded because it just makes
It's
life
fast. Yep.
easy. But I did notice if you buy the block cheese and shred it yourself, it melts a little bit easier.
So much easier, especially in this recipe. But either way, you're gonna be just fine.
Exactly.
If you want more cheese, to make it more cheesy, feel free to add more.
That's what we did too. So after we did individual servings, we put a little more cheese on
each one.
Yep.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, that's what
Let the kids. This is super kid friendly. My kids loved this.
Mine too.
And like you said, it makes a ton. Like we ate it for lunches all week long.
Right? We're going on a 3rd meal of this. I made this just this week.
It's awesome.
I know. It's one of our favorites now. All right. Okay. What do you think? Looking good?
Looks good.
Okay, should we plate it up?
Yep. So at this point, you could feed it to your family. It is going to be super hot for a minute, but it's delicious. It's cheesy. It's comfort food. I don't think you could ask for anything more. And then, like you were saying, if you want to throw on a little bit of extra cheese, especially when it's hot,
There we go.
it'll get all melty on there. If you want to get fancy, you could
pop of
throw on
color.
some fresh parsley. But there you go.
Super
Dinner
simple.
is served.
There we go.
Number 19 is egg roll bowls. I love this one.
So you're going to start by pushing the saute button on your Instant Pot. Now once it's hot, you're going to dump in 1 pound of ground turkey or ground pork or even ground chicken, whatever you like. Now I have a little chop stir thing. This is my most favorite thing to cut up my meat or mashed potatoes or any of that stuff. I'll put a link in the description for it. It's my favorite thing. Now once your meat is all cooked, it's time to add the seasonings. First you're going to add 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. Then I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of dried ground ginger. Now the ginger gives it that yummy taste. On top of that, go ahead and add 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. I like to use a lower sodium soy sauce, but it's totally up to you what you want to use. And then you're just going to add a 1/2 cup of chicken broth. Now you can use water if you don't have chicken broth, but I like to use the chicken broth. Then stir it all together. At the store, I just grabbed a bag of coleslaw mix. It's all put together, all ready to go, and I'm just dumping the whole entire bag in. Now I'm just pushing the coleslaw down a little bit. You don't want to mix a lot because you want that liquid in the bottom of your pot. All right, once you're done, go ahead and put your lid on. Make sure the little knob is turned to sealing. I'm going to push the cancel button. Because it was on saute, you need to push cancel. Then push pressure cook button or manual, and you're going down to 0 minutes. Now after you set the timer, it's going to say on after a few seconds. That means you did it right. You can walk away. Now because it's only set for 0, it won't take long at all. And I went ahead and pushed the knob over to venting to let all of the pressure out. Once you can take the lid off, go ahead and do it and then mix it all together. Then once you're all done, it's time to go on to the egg roll wrappers. Now you have some options with the egg roll wrappers. I like to cut them up into a few different strips and kind of make them as like little dippers. It's totally up to you how you want to do this, but I just spread them on a sheet pan. Now go ahead and brush them with a little bit of olive oil and then put them in the oven at 400 degrees for about 4 to 5 minutes, but you have to watch them. Now you can also make egg rolls by putting a little bit in the center of the wrapper and then folding in both sides and rolling it up. Now you want to be sure to place it seam side down, that way it won't fall apart while it's cooking. Because these are baked egg rolls, they're not going to have the bubbly look as if they're deep fried. You can deep fry if you want, but baked is a whole lot better for you. All right, I'm going to brush them a little bit with olive oil, stick them in the oven at 350 degrees. They'll cook for about 40 minutes. And there you have it. These are the egg roll bowls or just egg rolls.
And number 20, last but not least, everyone needs to know how to cook a roast in the Instant Pot. We're making roast.
So I'm starting with a 2-pound pot roast. The good thing about the Instant Pot is that you can use a cheaper cut of meat and it will still taste delicious. I always like to cook the meat on the very bottom of my Instant Pot because that's where it's hottest and that's where it will cook the fastest. Next, you're going to add just a 1/2 of a packet of the Lipton
with your Instant Pot. So if you're new to our channel and you want some tips and tricks or advice with your Instant Pot, make sure you subscribe and don't forget to push that little bell notification. So number 1, you don't need to double the time on your Instant Pot if you're doubling the recipe. So for example, if you're cooking rice, you can make 1 cup of rice, of white rice, and cook it for 7 minutes. Or you can have 6 cups of white rice and cook it for also 7 minutes. You're still gonna cook it for the same time. You're not going to bump up the time at all. Now, the only time that that's different is when you're cooking a roast, because the thicker your roast is, the more time you have to cook it because it has to cook in the middle. So other than cooking roasts, you're going to keep the time the same on the majority of your recipes. Number 2, never ever push cancel as your pot is pressurizing. A lot of new people, they'll set their timer and it's starting to pressurize, and then they think that it's taking too long, so they'll decide to cancel it. And then they'll send me an email saying, my Instant Pot's not working, it takes too long to pressurize. So you just need to be patient. Patience, patience. Wait a few minutes for it to pressurize. It can take anywhere from about 5 to 20 minutes to pressurize. You wanna let it pressurize, and then it will start counting down. So wait for it, and then you'll be fine. Number 3, when your pot is all done cooking, never ever take off the lid by force. You wanna wait until that little pin drops. Now, I know a girl who decided, I want my lid off right now, so she literally, with her strength, opened it up and had to go to the hospital because she had so many burns on her body. So you wanna make sure all the pressure is out, that the pin is down, and then you should be able to open your lid easily. Never force it open. Number 4, you wanna make sure that when your pot is steaming out, so when you're letting out all the pressure, that your hand doesn't get in the way of the Instant Pot. So if you're nervous about getting burned as your Instant Pot is venting, you can always use like a wooden spoon or something so you can kind of make it go venting from a distance. Number 5, never put your pot or your still bowl on the stovetop. So let me show you. So this still bowl is specifically made for your Instant Pot. Don't put it on your stovetop, don't put it in your oven. It will melt. In my Facebook group called Instant Pot Recipes, we've had many pictures of people who have accidentally put this on their stovetop or even put their Instant Pot on their stovetop, and it is melted completely. So just make sure that this pot is only for your Instant Pot, and don't even put this on your stovetop in case your burner turns on, because it will melt it. It really will. Number 6, I've had a lot of people tell me that they've accidentally put food in their Instant Pot. Now, I'm not talking about in their pot, this pot, I'm talking about in this pot. So just make sure when you are putting food into your Instant Pot, make sure that your still pot is in first. My sweet mother-in-law was new to the Instant Pot and she accidentally dumped in a ton of rice into this part, and it took a few hours to clean out and get it out, which we did. We've had a few people in our Instant Pot Facebook group who it didn't work out so well for them. They put liquid in there or things that don't clean out easily, and it destroyed their Instant Pot. So just make sure this goes in first and then your food. Number 7, there are many different sizes of Instant Pots. You have your 3-quart, your 6-quart is what I use the majority of the time. Then there's an 8-quart, and there's also a 10-quart that just came out. The most common question I get is that people are confused and they don't know that you need to keep the time the same on any Instant Pot you're using if you're doing the recipe. So say, again, let's go back to rice. You're making rice, 1 cup of rice for 7 minutes. You're gonna do 7 minutes in each pot. It might take a little bit longer to pressurize in the bigger pots, but you'll still keep the time the same. Number 8, never just put your food in there and put the lid on and expect it to pressurize. You need liquid. Now, one of the most common misconceptions is that you could use like salsa or other thick liquid, which will work sometimes, but a lot of the times you'll get that lovely burn notice. And so you just wanna make sure that you always have a little bit of liquid, whether it's water or chicken broth. Now, if you put enough liquid in there and it's too liquidy when your food is done, you can just push the saute button and evaporate some of that liquid, and then your recipe will be just fine. Number 9, never fill your pot all the way to the top. Now, 1, it's not going to cook correctly. 2, it probably won't pressurize. And 3, if it does pressurize, chances are it will make a giant mess. So my rule of thumb is that I always try and fill it just 3/4 full or less. So the more full you get, the longer it will take to pressurize. And so I always just go 3/4, and then all your food should be just fine. And number 10, now this one is just my own preference. A lot of people, if they're new to the Instant Pot, they call it Insta Pot, kind of like Instagram, but it's not Instapot. It is called Instant Pot. I'm never gonna say that again, but that's what it's called, Instant Pot. I've said it, now we're done. I hope these 10 things that you need to know for your Instant Pot will help you out just a little bit. Now, if you're new to the Instant Pot, be sure to check out my 5 Instant Pot recipes for beginners. They're perfect if you're just starting out. All right, guys, I'll see you next week. Bye.